Good morning. Now for a quick Devar Torah. We're beginning the book of Exodus, Sefer Shemot. And here we see an interesting thing that's happening. The Jews were invited to Egypt by the Pharaoh because they were his viceroy's people. And remember, Joseph saved Egypt from the famine. So the Jews were invited into Egypt. And they prosper and they multiply. And then a new Pharaoh arrives who did not know Joseph. There's a whole debate among the commentators. Was this a new Pharaoh, the son of the previous Pharaoh? Was this a new dynasty? Or was this the old Pharaoh who chose not to remember Joseph? We don't know. But he obviously has a problem. The Jews are prospering. And he's afraid that the Jews becoming numerous will be a fifth column within Egypt. There's no evidence that this would be so. Absolutely none. But it doesn't matter to him. One of the things we have to remember about a lot of anti-Semites is they are conspiracists. They believe in conspiracies which have no basis in reality. And this Pharaoh was one of them. He was probably the first such person. So he said, let's deal with them wisely. Let's send them, let's enslave them. He doesn't want to kick the Jews out. This is another thing about anti-Semites. They hate the Jews, but they don't want to expel them. The old Soviet Union made it very clear that they were anti-Jewish, but they refused to allow Jews to leave the Soviet Union for fear, who knows, the Jews would gang up on them and destroy the Soviet Union. Interesting side. Remember, we Jews, if you look at the population of the world, we're about 16, 17 million, I don't know. The world population is, 8, 9 billion? If you do the math, there's no way that we can take over the world. We just aren't that many. Yes, there are Jews who are powerful, but, we're not that many. We cannot take over the world, even if we wanted to. There's just too many non-Jews, and besides, we don't want to take over the world. We want to be able to live as Jews and to keep mitzvot, the commandments, and try to make the world a better place by us being better people. But in the mind of an anti-Semite who's a conspiracist, we have tremendous powers that are unknown to the rest of the world. And this is why Pharaoh is afraid of the Jews, and he wants to try to defeat the Jews. So this is the basis of the slavery of the Jews in Egypt. And the rest of the story will flow from there, and how it happens. Now, as it happens, in the synagogue, I sit next to a fellow named Glenn Richter, who for many years, from about 1962, was the head of a group called the Student Struggle for Soviet Jewry. And they had demonstrations to let the Jews leave the Soviet Union. And again, the Soviets feared the power of the Jews, even though the Jews were minuscule. And remember, we had gone through the Holocaust. The Soviets had as much information as everybody else about the Holocaust when we were absolutely helpless. Today we're not helpless. We have a state, and we see that we can be powerful. But at the time, the Soviets were scared of the Jews. Again, it's the way a conspiracist thinks. Reason doesn't matter. What matters is that they know the, quote, truth, unquote. And we have to deal with it. And we fight it by continuing to be Jews. Something to think about.